This video contains gratuitous use of profanity and uncomfortable pauses to compensate for lack of professionalism and original thought. Viewer discretion advised.
Coming to you live from the Hall of Justice, we bring you the Nerdy Manroom show with your hosts, Hassel and Monster. And last time we come to you guys, we had an After Dark edition. Now we have a During Daylight edition. We have an AM edition. Got the cup of Joe here. Get a little cup of coffee. So how you doing, Monster? I know you just come back from your Cobra retreat. It seemed to be very fruitful.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a fun time. I guess we can go straight into Geek Week from there because that's really all I have for Geek Week. Is that yes, I was on vacation, took a small cruise, and a lot of fun stuff that happened there. It was very enjoyable. It was only a 3-day cruise, but by the time you travel down, that's the 4th day. You travel back, there's a 5th day, so it was 5 days of travel and the cruise. But very fun. But I there's a lot of stuff that happened that was fun and enjoyable. Just the only thing I'll share on air right here, though, just so I don't get myself in trouble, was I will share one quick funny story. So it's me and the missus on the cruise, and the first day that we're on the cruise, you know, we pay for the what they call it, the faster to the fun, where you get to board early, you get the priority boarding. So we were on the boat by, or I shouldn't say boat, they say call it a ship, but I was on there by 11.
That's AKA you can go ahead and have a few drinks by the pool while everyone else is boarding.
Yeah, we were on by 11, 11:20. We went straight through. We got there and just boom, boom, boom. We're directly on there, and we hung out for a while. We're just hanging out because you can't get to your room until like 1:30, 2 o'clock whenever they open it. So as soon as they opened the room, we went because we checked bags, but I had my carry-on backpack. She had her carry-on bag with her camera and stuff in it. So we went and dropped all that stuff off in the room as soon as we could. She already had her swimsuit on. I changed clothes and came back out in mine, and just because we were going to go hang out by the pool. And so, mind you, the ship has not even set sail yet, but we go hang out and we do some stuff, and we're sitting there, and we're at this one bar that's next to the pool. So there's 2 pools. There's one that everybody can use, and then there's one that's the adults only area, which, you know, the pool stays open longer. You know, they have more bars in that area. There's more
shenanigans.
You have more of your single people or your, you know, younger people who are there as a couple back there. So we were back there at that pool, and we were at the bar, and for whatever reason we were sitting there. She was wanting to order a drink, and we were sitting there, and I will say that we started, let me use the right term, I don't want to say making out, but kissing, and it was a little passionate and not really paying attention to anything else because we're not usually PDA type people, but you know, you're on a cruise ship, you don't know anybody.
Caught up in the moment.
Probably never going to see these people again. You really don't care. So we were doing that a little bit, and we stopped because we heard the people in the pool. There was a group of folks in the pool that were just getting really loud and rowdy and cheering and yelling stuff. So we're like, I don't know what they're cheering for. The boat hasn't moved. We haven't set sail or anything. Not paying any attention, just trying to figure out what they were cheering for. And then stopped. She ordered her drink, and then for whatever reason, right back to the same thing again. And they started up again, and it's finally turned around and looked, and they were cheering and yelling at us and
yes.
Yeah, pretty much just and doing that and then throwing a thumbs up. And I was like, oh, they're cheering for us. This is funny. And I looked, and there was a couple of women in this group, but it was mostly guys. And I was like, she's like, oh, they're cheering for us. This is hilarious. I was like, no, they're cheering for me because look at you and look at me. and like, this is mostly guys, and she's a very pretty young lady. So it was like, okay, yeah, they're cheering for me, not necessarily us. But they every time after that they went on. But there was that, and then later that evening we went and ate, did some other stuff, came back out to that same pool again, and she wanted to get in the pool then and hang out, and we got in the pool, and we were, you know, we were not the only people in the pool couple wise. It was like just, you know, hugging.
Typically they're pretty packed.
Yeah. But there was this one group of guys. She got in. I was just sitting in the lounge chair, and she got in, and I was hanging out there, and she was like motioning for me to come over, and then she wanted me to get in with her. So I got in, and we were just sitting there, and she hugged me, and she was like, listen to these guys next to me. the four guys standing next to her, I thought at first she motioned me over because maybe she was uncomfortable around them or something. I really wasn't paying much attention, but she was like, no, she's like, this is hilarious. They were talking about Pornhub, and they were talking about the different categories they watch and how they review videos and what they look for in their reviews and stuff. I'm like,
okay,
they're taking this very, very seriously.
As someone who runs a review show, am I missing out on a niche that I'm not aware of?
No, these guys were just talking about how they write reviews on the videos they watch. They're like, oh, like, I watched out and it was so good. I wrote a review about it. It's like, but they are like in detail discussing what they're looking for. And she's like, and I look around in this pool and like, yeah, just for example, we're hugging. She's got her legs wrapped around me. We kiss a little bit. There's a couple next to us doing. There's a couple across the way. These four guys are the only four guys in there alone, and all they're discussing is Pornhub. She said, and this is why they don't have women with them. I was like, yeah. But they and all these other couples in this pool, whether they were kissing, making out, just hugging, whatever, none of them were being out of the way. None of them were doing anything inappropriate. It was just PDA.
Little affection.
Yes. But other people would look around at the other couples and you notice they would be looking at you. You'd look at them or whatever, just because everybody's like, all right, am I doing anything that anybody else is not doing? These four guys never look away from each other and break the conversation they're having, no matter how much stuff is going on. Like they're talking about watching Pornhub, and there's like 4 or 5 couples in this pool very passionately making out and stuff, and they're like still talking about what they watched on Pornhub before they left.
And the fact that they never broke eye contact, that's a little scary.
I was like, this is weird. But we were the closest couple to them. We were on like 5 or 6 steps because the side of the lounge chairs I sat in, because let's be honest, I'm fairly pale. I was trying to sit where more of the shade was, and the sun was starting to go down, so that wasn't as bad then. But I sat on the side where there was more shade. She was in the pool on that side and wanting to. I mean, she was swimming back and forth a little bit, but this pool is not big enough to really swim in. It's mostly just for hanging out because there's so many people and all anyway.
It's more like a very glorified hot tub that you stand in.
Yes, and she was hanging on that side and leaning up on it, and stretching her legs and stuff, kicking back, everything like that, like you do if you're just sitting there and you're not swimming, but you're, for lack of a better term, floating because you don't have enough room to really float anyway. So she's got her own little space there, but we're about 5 to 6 steps away from them in the pool by the time I get in there with her because she's right there. And I'm like, they have just been going this whole time. And honestly, what surprised me even more was that I don't recognize them from when we were out there earlier. So I'm surprised. Again, I didn't get in the pool with her, so I'm surprised they didn't stop their conversation and just start checking her out or try to talk to her or something. But no, they continued their conversation. And I was like, you guys really, I was like, look, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say I don't ever watch anything, but I would have been paying attention because there was some pretty ladies in the pool. I'd have been paying more attention to what's around me than having that conversation.
And is that really the conversation you have with the guys in public? I mean, I get it. You're at a cruise. You're never going to see these people again. Other than the fact that you may be seated with these people at the captain's table at some, you know what I'm saying? Because you really don't know who you're going to be.
We paid for the private tables. we had our own little 2-seater table, just the 2 of us.
See, that's legit right there. I know the commoners, you get seated with random people or however you arrive and whatnot. So, yeah, that would have been real awkward. I feel like it's a conversation you have with the guys in private. Maybe
or if you're sitting at a table and you're talking slightly quieter and nobody else is around is going to hear you, or there's nobody around at your table, that's one thing. But they were like in a pool with a bunch of people, and there's 2 hot tubs above the pool, and they were both completely full. I was like, if we hear you, they hear you. It was the oddest thing, but I mean, other than that, and then the people cheering for us, I mean, it was a fantastic trip. But those were the 2 funny ones I remember off the top of my head, besides just inside jokes and having fun, with the other half and stuff like that. But not a bad trip, and I was not too sunburnt when I came back. A little bit of red on mostly my top of my head and back of my neck, but a little bit.
I was wondering if you broke the Watson hat out.
No, I bought a ball cap on the ship because I meant to pack one and take it, because I will wear a ball cap if I'm going outside for a long period and I don't want to get burnt. But forgot to pack one and then got on the boat and was like, I need to buy one. And they had one that was like a UPF 50 plus. I was like, I'm buying that one. And I will admit, because it's not, I've been on cruises before when it's cooler type season and it gets pretty cold at night on there because there's a breeze and stuff when you're out on the ocean. This one was not ever really that cool. It was kind of always just moderate temperatures, but I did wear a long sleeve sun shirt the entire time when we were out at the pool and stuff or on the beach, because I was like, I don't need my arms and stuff burnt. Hopefully my legs don't burn too bad, which I didn't get burned at all on my legs. It was just for whatever reason, because the back of the sun shirt, the back of my hand my right hand is burnt because I guess it was in the sun and I didn't put lotion on it, sunscreen on it very good there, and then my neck and the top of my head and everything else was fine. I was like, oh, that's a surprise because I figured I was going to be a lobster when I came back.
If you don't come back from a good cruise 5 pounds overweight and sunburned, did you really do anything?
Dude, I will tell you though. I will tell you, and she's gonna kill me for saying this, but every time we ate on that ship, like my stomach was okay, but every time we ate, it tore her stomach up. Like whatever preservatives or whatever they use for food just did not agree with her. So like, she was like, "Don't go." She's like, "Open the back," because we had a balcony room. She's like, "Open the balcony door." Don't. She's like, "Cause it stinks in here." She would blow up. She's like, "Don't come in the bathroom." I was like, "That doesn't bother me. Mine usually worse, but yeah, it tore her stomach up pretty good."
I mean, there was food all over the ship when we went, and it was like the final day, I think, we were coming back before I knew you could actually order shit to your room.
Yeah,
I was like,
did that.
How did I not know this the entire time? Like, hey, bitch, I want some cookies. And they were hot. You know, I was just like,
what? We did that a lot of times, and then we went to the buffets and stuff and ate. We only went to the formal dinner one night, or the event dinner or whatever. We went to that on the formal night and stuff, but it was... all the food is always really good and I enjoy it, and it tasted fantastic. But I mean, when I got home, yes, my stomach was a little tore up when I got home and got back to other food and ate it. And I guess the mixture of them didn't set well, but for her, it was like every day just about it would hit her hard.
See, that's when you take the old quick creep with you, and you just pop a couple of those and just lock it down until you get home, and then take some fiber and let it go.
Let it go. I'd rather get it out of the system so she's not feeling bad. That interferes with personal time.
It does. It does. Believe me, I got one that battles, Hashimoto's and all these. Yeah, I understand.
So yeah, that's been pretty much all of my Geek Week since I saw you last and we did the
Any round table after news dark. From the cruise?
Nothing to share right now.
Okay, fair enough. Just fishing, brother. Just fishing. You never know.
We didn't go fishing.
Sometimes the snapper ain't biting.
They go swimming with the pigs. There's a private pig island, and then there's wild pigs that come out and you can feed them and go get in the water with them and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. It's a new one. I've never heard of that.
There's a pig island. There is a snake island that you cannot go to. That one's somewhere in Japan, and it's not allowed to go from cruises and stuff on it just because it's snakes.
You're not getting me there.
There's a wild rabbit island somewhere. I don't know where that one's at, but you can go swim with the rabbits and stuff, and they'll come out, and you can feed them and all. And there's a cat island, but in the Bahamas, there's a pig island.
So now I know when you're traveling for Cobra work, you're going to Snake Island. Now we know. You heard it here. Breaking news, people. I didn't even know.
I didn't even know that one existed until yesterday. Because I was talking about doing the swimming with the pigs with someone else, and they were like, "There's a Snake Island, a Cat Island." And I was like, so I started looking it up.
There's layers of Cobra that even Cobra Commander doesn't have access to. This is scary, folks.
You never know. But how was your Geek Week, sir?
It was pretty slow for the most part. Done a little work. Done a lot of work. Thankfully, it's I was able to knock off at lunch on Friday, where it's Memorial Day weekend. Hats off to all the men and women of the service and fallen heroes. So it's Memorial Day weekend. I'm gonna do a little grilling, chill out by the pool. I done some relaxing by the pool yesterday. The only major thing I really got to do this week is I did do an unboxing during the week of the Wolverine Mr. Fix-It 2-pack or patch Mr. Fix-It 2-pack. It's on our YouTube channel. It's a pretty sweet set. Still got old boy right here. It's a nice figure, and I was pleased to see that it's not just the Joe Fix-It, with a different head on him and color scheme or whatnot. His gray tone is different than the others, which is nice because it's more of the McFarlane, Fix-It Hulk. It did look good. Like I said, you go check that out on our YouTube channel. Speaking of McFarlane, I know.
Well, before you leave to go to that, I was looking because I thought that Joe Fix-It, the one with the pinstripe suit and the Tommy gun, he's actually on the Pulse outlet sales now. He's like 23. I don't know what he was originally.
A lot more. A lot more. That's what Big Rob of Big Rob's House of Entertainment, No Chinese Food, sent me a message this week where several things that I purchased at retail was on
same
sale.
Here.
The Cobra Strike team was down to like 40-something bucks, and I was like, "You motherfuckers!"
It's amazing though, because if you look at some of that, it's like, okay, that's an exclusive. You expect it to sell out and be expensive in the aftermarket and stuff, and it's not. They've got it on sale, but something like the Vamp with clutch was supposed to be. I don't know if it was a exclusive to Pulse or not, but right now, if you go look at it on eBay, it's going for like $250.
Wow.
Yeah, and they were $89 to begin with. I'm like, why is it so much? Because nobody can get them.
I know I've seen a lot of Gridiron Studios accessories you can buy for it to make it really, really cool. I kind of regret not getting one now because like I wasn't a big clutch fan, so I mean I didn't care, and I was like, it is what it is. But then I see all these accessories now that you can pop on and make it so much more badass, and it'll actually help you carry more characters and whatnot. I'm like, fuck, I kind of wish I'd have bought that now.
I will say this too. This was the first figure I have seen because I opened it up enough so far just to take Clutch out. And he's the only new figure I've opened in a while just because I wanted to take him out and look at it for something. But when you open up the Foot Locker and there's another head that's got that Steel Brigade helmet because they've been doing those with almost everybody lately.
They're throwing those in there, buddy.
But you look at that one, it's not another head that pops on. It's the helmet that actually goes over his head.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was like, oh, so they did the Stormtrooper style at this point now. Instead of just making a brand new head, it's actually just a helmet.
Well, that the promising side of that is we'll have that in other figures, obviously. They'll be...
Yeah.
So,
or if you want to go buy one of the cheap ones at Ollie's and then pop the helmet on the head, now you got a brand new character or figure.
Well, I mean, look at the... what is the Firefly that's in the Tiger Force outfit that's coming with the four-wheeler?
Wreckage or whatever.
Yeah, the one that was like right there at the end of Joe's, big early 90s push, early to mid 90s.
Yeah, they're calling him
whatever dying
That
off.
wasn't his original name. His original name was Sabretooth.
Was it? I was thinking it was Sabotage or some shit as well. I don't know why, but maybe I just hear Sabotage in my mind when I see the figure. But he comes with one of those Steel Brigade heads, so I bet it's probably just a slip over.
Yeah, probably so.
That's pretty. I'm fine with that. There. I will say I opened my retro card Duke. Extremely pleased with this figure. I ordered two. One hit the wall, and then I wasn't pleased with the first Duke. I got him here. I kept him MOC, and they done a re-release of that particular one with a little lighter colors to try to appease the fans a little more, kind of like they did with Cobra Commander. I didn't go in for him, but I did buy a Tiger Force, and I opened the Tiger Force because he come with the motorcycle.
Yeah.
So I was like, sooner or later they'll do a retro, and that's going to be my Duke for the shelf. So that's what I have on the shelf now. And I will say, he looks great. It's really cool figure. Especially the nostalgia within it is nice. And then I got the Big Rob hooked me up with the female ninja for the Python Patrol. I forget her name. She's got a little skull. Yeah, she's got a little skull mask that actually slides over her face. That actually ended up being a really nice figure. And the only reason I went in for it is he found it like at Ross or Ollie's somewhere, at a reasonable price. And I was like, because it was one I initially didn't go in for, but I've damn near ended up getting every one of these Python Patrol figures, even the officers and, shit like that, troopers. So I was like, yeah, I get it. And it actually ended up being a really nice figure. I like it. So that was kind of my Geek Week, so to speak. But before we get out of that, we was talking about McFarlane a while ago. And it was, you and I were briefly discussing before the show, and you said you hadn't seen nothing about it. So it was announced yesterday, and the headline was very misleading. It said McFarlane enters deal with Marvel to do Marvel toys. So when I said, I'm like, what? Where the fuck does this push Hasbro at, Yeah. Because I don't want to see Marvel go to McFarlane toys.
No.
Because the inconsistencies and the fucking redos. I bet you we'd have 4,000 Spider-Man. And I'm a Spider-Man fan, but if they do that much with Batman, you will get it with Spider-Man, I promise.
That, and you can't, for whatever reason, it used to be that the McFarlane stuff was everywhere and you could find it and buy it, pick it up. And the last few waves, it's like he's started short packing them, and you can't get half the figures in them.
Well, the Asbats, I literally got a thing from eBay, or not eBay, I'm sorry, Amazon last week, telling me he was shipping and on the way. He's supposed to be here by last Saturday. Well, hell, Sunday rolls, and I'm like, where the hell's my Asbats? And I look at there and it says pending. I said, pending for what? And I didn't get an email until this morning, actually, to see if I still wanted to keep the order for the figure because it's somehow back ordered now.
I had the same problem with the Electric Superman, the John Stewart Green Lantern, and the Aquaman with the hook hand from Target. But then I've seen the Aquaman with the hook hand in GameStop actually on the shelf at the store.
See, that's crazy, man. And I do think I might buy another one of those JLA Black Suit Batmans. They actually look pretty nice. So I got one on the wall there, but I kind of want one to open. But anywho, when I clicked the article, I was like, okay, what's going on here? He has reached an agreement with Marvel, but what he's reached an agreement with Marvel to do for McFarlane Toys is like the characters he drew. Like, it's going to be like kind of like cover art of certain artists figures. Well, with a diorama. So like it's the Spider-Man from 301 where he's got an iconic whip swing with a sling and pose. It'll be a McFarlane version of that there in the McFarlane art style. They're gonna do Spider-Man, Wolverine, and the Wolverine's gonna be in Jim Lee art. I believe they said Deadpool or Cable 1, and that was Rob Liefeld. And then he wanted to do a George Perez and Ushima. That was the 5 artists that he selected to do something for. So, well, we'll see. It might be a testing ground for him to give him a little leverage over Hasbro. I don't know, but I really hope not because I don't want to see him with a monopoly over DC and Marvel. I'm kind of surprised Marvel or DC's going for that shit.
Well,
even with it being a limited capacity,
Well, he doesn't get to do everything because they still have that Spin City license that does those little small figures for younger kids and stuff. And but his figures, some of them look really good, and some of them don't. So there's inconsistency, as you said. But I've noticed with all of them, the posability is not on par with even a Marvel Legend. Marvel Legends are far more posable. I can get them into much better poses than I can his figures.
You can get them in actual comic poses.
Yeah.
Like the hinges or whatever. They just kind of they
look
better in. Majority of them look better in the box. I've seen a few that you could take out and they do pretty well, but typically
they do okay in some areas. Like their hands are not the most posable. Their ankle rockers are not very good. The shoulders.
Something went wrong.
Shut up.
Try
Google.
again in a few seconds.
Google all of a sudden for whatever reason. But the shoulders, the shoulder joints, the butterflies, they will pop out most of the time when you're trying to get them in the pose. They will not stay. His shoulders are terrible. They do not ever stay in for me. And I'm not overly torquing them.
Those open. I think the only ones I have open right now is the Nightfall Batman. I have him open over there, and I've been tempted to open that Big Bang, but I don't think I have any more of his actually.
I've got Kyle Rayner. I've got Kyle Rayner. I've got Atrocitus, the Build-A-Figure, the Captain.
Well, I do have
Parallax,
the Atrocitus Build-A-Figure.
Azrael, Batman, and the Superman. One of the first Superman he did.
Well, see, I couldn't get a duplicate of Parallax or Asbat. I couldn't find a duplicate of either one of those because I was going to buy one to open it. And I kind of wanted the Eradicator because he actually does look nice, and I think he would probably be fine out of box. The Batman I'm going to gamble with, I figure I'll be able to find him. I did buy a few just for the Build-A-Figure pieces, and then my son gave me the rest to build Atrocitus. But even he is like, he doesn't stand there. He's too lean, honestly, for that character.
Yeah.
I mean, he's tall as fuck and just lean. And it's like, it doesn't look as good. And the shoulder pads is a little, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and if you'd told me you needed the Eradicator a while back, but I've already got rid of them because I had 2 Eradicator and 2 of the Superboy. But then I saw the Mafex coming out with the Eradicator, knew it wouldn't be long before they did Superboy too, because they'd already done a few others from that. So I was like, I'd rather get those. So I actually sold those off.
Well, see, Superboy was one I never could track down. I seen him on eBay a few times at a ridiculous price. And then I almost pulled the trigger on Amazon one time, and he was out of stock by the time I went for it. But aside from that, that's pretty much my geek week. I've been playing the hell out of some WWE 2K with the Punk Pack. It's pretty enjoyable. So yeah, that's it.
Well, with that, let's go straight to our focus topic, because we were on Geek Week not too long, but longer than I thought we'd be, because I know it hasn't been that long since we've seen each other, and you've been busy and I have been out of the country. But for focus topic this week, we decided. So yesterday I went to the local vintage toy store, the toy department, shameless plug, in Cincinnati, Ohio. Fantastic store. They always have nice stuff, and notice that they have decked out the front of their cabinet with some different card sets and stuff. And they have a few complete collections, but it's like Garbage Pail Kids and stuff. There's boxes of cards. You can buy packs, and got to looking, and I was just like, those are cool. There's none I wanted. And all of a sudden, on the second round, on the second side of the little card setup that they had there, they had a box of the DC Cosmic cards, which is the ones from 91 or 92 from Impel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's where they had the Legacy set, where like you'd have all three generations of Blue Beetle, or all three generations of Superman, silver, gold, and silver, and modern age. And I was like, shoot, I hadn't seen those in a while. And I was like, how many packs are still in there? Because they were $2 a pack. He's like, you count them 26. I was like, because it's a 36 count box. I was like, I will take all that's left. I bought the 26 packs, went home. Me and the kid were opening them, having fun with them last night. So that's when I texted you and said, hey, here's an idea for the next episode. Because I was seeing some different characters. I'm like, man, I remember these, but I don't remember doing anything. But we said, why don't we do the top 7 most underrated / underutilized or even obscure DC characters? Like, who are they for us? And so let me back up and say, what do we mean by underrated, underutilized, obscure? That could be that they are just not used very well, or they're underrated for what they have been used for, and they've been used poorly in times. And by obscure, I mean, that may be, hey, we don't ever see these characters, they don't do anything. But even on the underrated and underutilized, they may not be obscure by any means. It may be like, and I'm going to throw one of my honorable mentions here, and not to go ahead and jump into it, but Firestorm. Firestorm is a fantastic character. I would consider him an A-list character, not even a B-list, but it depends on the timing. In the 80s, he was an absolute A-list character. He was on the cartoon. He was the relatable character for the kids. He had his own book, and it lasted hundreds of issues. And then you get to modern times, and they'll use him great for a little while, and then he'll fall off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by underrated.
He had actually made my list.
Yes.
He was one of mine.
So I will let you discuss that. We'll go straight into that, but so do you want to do honorable mentions first, or you want to do the our top 7 and then do honorable mentions?
We can do the top 7, and if we have some stuff that overlap, and I'm sure we will, because our minds are pretty similar on some of these characters. We'll just kind of chime in on one another, bounce back and forth. But yeah, Firestorm was definitely, he was like my number 6 on my list, because I mean, he was such a cool character. Visually, conceptually, he's awesome. Very, very cool looking character. There were certain things they've done, some liberties they've took with him throughout the years that I hadn't really cared for myself. But he has a great deal of potential, and it's like they'll ride that wave for a little while, and then they just jump off of it. They abandon ship, so to speak.
Yes, I threw Firestorm in my honorable mentions just because I was like, he's one of those that, because he's had so many chances and rises in popularity and what he is like, how do I don't know if I can say he's really underrated and underutilized all the time, or even the majority of the time. So that's why I said, okay, I threw him in honorable mentions, because he's almost
there's probably 1 or 2 of mine that they get some attention, but not the right attention. That's probably what the direction I went with. Let me ask you this: as a Firestorm fan, do you think he would work better if he didn't have to merge with Professor Stein?
Well, they did that for a while.
Jason, or however they want to do it.
I like the merger better, because it's 2 personalities trying to run one character. Now, I did like in the New 52 when there was a separate. Ronnie could be Firestorm by himself, Jason could be, and then they could combine into the main one. That was kind of cool, just for a different take on the concept. But in the 90s, when he was on Justice League Task Force, it was just Ronnie, and like he had been diagnosed with leukemia and stuff because of all of his time with the nuclear man and the nuclear power and stuff. And he was Professor Stein had already gone on and become the Firestorm Elemental Firestorm, where he was less nuclear and more just fire elemental. But he came back and actually cured Ronnie of his leukemia, and that jump started his powers again. And he turned into Firestorm on his own at that point. And I don't know if it was the writing and him being in Justice League Task Force, which was not a great book, but not a terrible book. But it's one of those where, okay, they took a few obscure characters, and we can talk, and I'll have some of them on my list, I'm sure, and said, here's a little Strike Force type team for Justice League, and you've got two major powerhouses with nuclear power with Captain Atom and Firestorm on the team once he joins them, but he just wasn't as interesting as a character, and I'm not sure if that's because of his. When they had the Captain Atom and Firestorm books, there was like a rivalry between them because they were the two nuclear characters. So there was a little bit of a rivalry. Then there was kind of a mentor role when they were on Task Force, but it was like Ronnie went from being a rebellious teenager who you could relate to being, yes, sir, no, sir, I just do whatever you say, and I'm just kind of here to fill a slot. So I don't know if it was the writing or if it was just the individual character versus him having the older Professor Stein with him. So I
maybe his character growth, so to speak, was lacking.
Yeah. So so as we go along, we may mention some in each other's honorable mentions. So that was your first one with Firestorm, right? And I did not put these in it. As always, folks, we don't put these in any particular order usually, or at least I just start
going.
Yeah, I just start making a list, and then I go back through and say, okay, that person needs to go, that person needs, because this person is more important. So Firestorm was your first pick. My first one, just to stay on the same vein, was Captain Atom.
He was an honorable mention for me.
He's a Carlton Comics character. He was around before in the early days of DC when he was in Carlton Comics. He was their version of Superman. He was all nuclear powered and stuff. And when he first came over, they made him a fantastic character in the 80s with his own book. But then when they moved him into Justice League and International, they kind of downplayed him more. And then the Justice League Task Force tried to bring him back, and they've tried to bring him back in New 52. And it's like every time they try harder, they fail more. So I was like, this is a character that you could do so much more with, and he's on par with all these other super powerhouses, but you just kind of throw him to the wind and say, hope you survive, and nothing ever occurs with it.
Yeah, it's almost like they want to do a little something with him, and it's like, then they don't know. They don't. I think they spitball something. Oh shit, that's a good idea. Here's 12 issues. Do it, and they don't flesh it out fully. Like they don't think it out like the progression of where its real end game should be.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem with it. But so that's both of our first one. Who do you have next on your list?
Red Tornado.
That's a good one. I thought about him, but he's had so many ups and downs. I was like, man, I don't know if I can pull him just because he's had enough.
Well, see, the thing about it is, like, conceptually, he's a really cool looking character to me. Because you know me, I'm an art person. So the art is shit in the book. No matter how great the story is, like, I couldn't read almost 80% of Grant Morrison's runs on anything because of Frank Quietly. The art was just trash. Kind of like when Chris Botchelow's on the book. I will not read it. So conceptually, I'm an art guy. So Red Tornado he grabs me. And I think with that run that Beans that Jeff Johns had on Justice League.
Yeah.
Where they really done some stuff with Red Tornado, there was a great story arc with, he was getting a little more human. And then him and Amazo was there. You had Solomon Grundy, but Solomon Grundy was smart for once. It's a great overall arc. And I don't know, I really enjoyed that take on him there. And I felt like he was starting to step into that A gamer, out of the B list into the A gamer. And then it's almost like just done nothing with him since. I mean, he's had some little brief stints here and there, I guess. And I'm not as current on DC as I should be. So if you guys correct me in the comments if I'm out of line here.
No, he hasn't. I mean, when he was in the league, and it was Ed Benez, and who was the writer? I'd have to look and see it. But the Tornado.
I thought it was Johns.
I don't know if it was Johns. I'll look and see while we're talking. But the Tornado's Path is the one you're talking about. That's the one where he inhabits a human body, and Solomon Grundy rips his arm off, and he's not used to pain and stuff, and he just basically shuts down because he's not used to actually feeling the pain. But now that he's in a human body, he can actually feel it because his for a while there, they made him into an elemental as well, and he was the primal.
Was it Judd Winnick?
No, man, I'm gonna have to look it up now as we talk.
I feel as if you don't, I am.
I'm looking for it now. I want to, for whatever reason, I was thinking it was Brad Meltzer. It is Brad Meltzer and Ed Benez.
Okay, Meltzer's a great writer. So I mean, I knew it was a top-notch writer on there, but that was the best here. It's like he peaked there, and that was what, early 2000s, mid 2000s.
Yeah, and you know something they never do with his character anymore is that he started out as a villain.
Yeah,
I mean his first run, Justice Society, you know, way back when, he was a villain for the first few issues, and then he was shown that he was the error of his ways and became a hero.
But with the exception of Amazo, isn't that kind of the overall arc of most of them? Well, look at the Vision. I mean,
true.
Well, I guess Ultron, you know, there's many that don't, but you know what I'm saying.
The question there is who came first. I believe Red Tornado was before Vision, so but they even look very similar too. With the advanced brow or pronounced brow and stuff.
That would be a fun what if.
That would be interesting.
Who you got next, Monster?
I'm gonna stick in that same vein and let's go with Ted Kord's Blue Beetle.
Oh man!
When he first came in on Crisis on Infinite Earth, again a Carlton Comics character. The original Blue Beetle was a super popular character in the 40s, 50s, whenever he was around. I think it was 40s. And then you came back and you've got this Ted Kord who they tried to make more like a Batman. And when he first came in, he was very okay. Go back and read Crisis. He's the planner for the Carlton Comics characters for their Earth. He was the Batman. He was the vigilante. He was the planner. He was the inventor, the tech guy. He was rich. He was all the things that Batman's supposed to be. And then as soon as
he was a Bruce Wayne version of Tony Stark.
Yeah, and he started out that way in his own book, and as soon as they did Justice League with Keith Giffen and JD DeMatteis, is it what I can't remember.
Booster drug him down.
He became the comedic character, which don't get me wrong, I enjoyed him as the comedic character in those books. He was hilarious, and still, when they do it that way, he still is. But at the same time, you took away from what that character was to the point where he can never go back to being what he was. Even when they tried to make him the sacrificial lamb in Infinite Crisis and have him shot in the head and stuff, it was like, everybody didn't believe him anymore.
But dude, that was powerful. He was a character you would not have thought would have you'd invoke that much emotion out of getting killed.
No, but it's the same thing that Batman told Superman. The last time you inspired somebody is when you were dead.
That part because right there.
Since he came back, and they've had Jaime Reyes as the Blue Beetle, he's meant nothing. He's not a mentor to Jaime and stuff. He tries to be, but they don't write him that way. He's still that comedic character. It's like you took away everything. You know,
that's
on
DC. That's 100% on DC because their focus is on Jaime because you know they're trying to draw the Hispanic fans in, and that's great. I mean, create new characters. I'm all for that right there.
Jaime's an enjoyable character.
He very much, but
they ruined.
Don't shit on that one.
They ruined what Ted Kord could ever be, and it was far before Jaime was there. But he can never be what he started out as again. So who do you have next?
Well, since we were talking about him, I'm gonna go with Booster Gold / Supernova. And why I say this is because he was almost a throwaway character for years.
Oh yeah.
You know, he comes along, he drags Booster Gold down into the slums of a joke level hero. Got that one punch type guy like Guy Gardner and Batman. And then DC 52, and then that happened. And I remember when that weekly title initially dropped, I was thinking, man, I'm almost done with DC. Though you just got rid of the fucking big three. You got a year with the big three gone. Yeah. Your big characters gonna be Booster Gold and some other people. Then you started getting teasers for that Supernova character. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And you know, we were all speculating that was gonna be Clark, a powerless Clark Kent in the suit because he had done that one time. And then overall, Booster Gold's arc, it wound up being very redeeming. He became a hero. And then after that, they'd done something with him for a little while. You know, he was going to be a time master or whatever with Rip. And they really started building him back up again into a more serious character. But while he was serious, he had to still play the goof in front of people. I found that kind of a very interesting.
Yeah, that was interesting writing, but as soon as that was over with, it's the same thing.
Back to the slums.
Yeah.
Right back to the slums. He's a joke again.
And actually, I don't know if you even remember this, but in that, when they revealed when he was working with the Time Master, they actually revealed that he's actually Rip's father.
Yeah. That was like, oh, well, dude, I will say, any of our listeners, if you haven't read that 52, not new 52, 52, and Countdown's not as good as 52. But it's pretty good still. Read those two. That's 104 issues of entertainment right here.
Yeah. So my next one, I'm gonna hit. Since we're talking about time travel, I'm just gonna go to this character, Our Man.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Now the Golden Age one was interesting when he took the pill and he had an hour of superpowers and stuff. But I like the one who came from the future and who had the time travel ability, and they brought him in with DC 1 million, and he was supposed to be there and
very cool look too.
Yes, he did. He was supposed to be helping correct small errors in time or whatever that he knew was coming, but
not fixed points, so to speak.
Yeah, but he didn't know the full details of them either, and I was like, okay, that's kind of cool, and I like that. I don't care which version of Our Man you could write up and do something better, but the only version of Our Man we've had in years is the one that's married to Jesse Quick, and he's the son of the original Our Man from the 40s. And they started to try to make him interesting because he's like, okay, you get the hour of power or whatever, you take the pill, you get the strength and stuff, but he would also have like a vision, like he could see so many seconds into the future, and he would occasionally get them like as a psychic vision, and okay, here's what you do, and here's the problem that's coming, but he doesn't know how to solve it, doesn't know the full thing. He can only see seconds into the future. That's fairly interesting, but then it's like, okay, as soon as they wrote his one major arc, it's like, okay, now you're just on the team as Justice Society, you're just here to fill a slot.
But you know what? The problem they probably running into, and this is probably something they're fleshing out and thinking, because unfortunately, we are in woke America now. But even if you wasn't, you got to think about it like this. So you can tell it's a very extremely outdated format with that, because he takes a pill. So he takes a hallucinogen to have a vision and have a performance enhancing drug to have some powers.
Yeah.
No, it's kind of hard to push that on kids.
I totally get it, but you could have done any other version of Our Man, because it is a character who's been around since the 40s. You could have done something different.
There's definitely ways to tweak him. He's interesting enough at his core. There's ways you can tweak him.
You could have done the time travel one from the future. You could have done anything and had an Our Man character. It's just the general concept of the character is cool, and nobody does anything with it. I guess that's why I pick him up. And for me, he's even less underrated and underutilized as more even so obscure. Even though he's been around for years, a lot of people say Our Man, they're like, what is that?
Yeah, they don't know. They really don't. Or if they do, if they were to see a picture of this hooded gentleman, be like, ugh.
Yeah.
Because with the exception of the one that you mentioned, he's never been cosmetically appealing.
No, not by any means.
Yellow and brown doesn't really invoke, oh man, I want to buy this action figure.
No. So I've got 4 left. You still got 4 left as well?
Yeah, I do.
All right, so who you got next?
Well, since we're talking about time travel, I got a little tongue twisted again. I'm gonna go Monarch Extinct from the 0 Hour era.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, that version of him right there. He such a cool concept, a badass looking character, and you find out he's a fallen hero. And dude, they done so much with him through 0 Hour, and he ends up being Parallax puppet pretty much. You find that out, but then it's like after that they didn't know what to do with him.
Well, and his original appearance was not extant, but his Monarch was at Armageddon 2001, and this is the first time. This is the first time the internet completely screwed over to the comics and stuff because the stuff leaked. Building up to it, they was running across every book. So, okay, who is Monarch? Who is Monarch?
Mm-hmm.
And the entire bill was supposed to be that it was going to be Captain Atom, which made perfect sense if you read any of the stuff leading up to it. It made the power level he had to do what he does, the ideology, the military type, almost dictator type thing he had going on. That all made sense. And the books that were leading up to it made sense, but then it got leaked. It's going to be Captain Atom. So they turned around and pivoted and made it Hawk.
That's Hawk.
Yeah, just out of nowhere, it's like, this had nothing to do with anything going on. Why did you use Hawk? And it's like, everybody was like, what?
That does make a lot more sense. And it is, better story-wise for it to be Captain Adam. I will say that. The way they wrote him during that time period when he was wound up being Hulk was a little better to me.
Come around to later on after 0 Hour and stuff that and then another monarch appears and they're like, oh, it's Hank Hall again or whatever, Hulk or whatever his name. I think it's Hank Hall is his name, but hey, it's him and Justice League Task Force end up fighting him. And what actually ends up happening is actually Nathaniel Adam, Captain Adam from the future. Yep. He's wearing the monarch armor because his shell had been cracked so bad he couldn't contain his power, but he had become monarch like he was originally supposed to be. I was like, so you just rehashed the story and it didn't.
Well, it was an alternate reality. They done another version of the same character from a different alternate reality. That was also Captain Adam, but it was just from a different reality. Yeah, that was in Countdown, I believe.
Such a waste of a good idea of a character.
Oh, yeah, man. Hey, visually, he looks great. Power-wise, he's amazing. Even his extent, he looked cool there. Like that red and black suit was like, with a cape. That was like, oh, man, I can get behind this. I'd buy an action figure of this. At the end of the day, do you either want to buy the comic for the cover or the action figure? And the story with ends a bonus. Yeah. To me. So it's like he checked all the boxes, and I feel like he is a character you could do something with today, and he's got the power to stand there. Because that's the thing with DC, you got to have the power to stand there against the Justice League. It's ridiculously, Martian Manhunter, Wonder Woman, Superman alone, Green Lantern. I mean, these are ridiculously powerful characters. So you got to have somebody that can, brush off some of these blows or attacks.
Yeah.
And he could do it. He checks all the boxes and they do nothing with him.
That is absolutely true. And since you brought up Martian Manhunter, I'm going to use that to lead straight into my next one on my list, which was Bloodwind.
Ooh. You got me out of left field there. I didn't expect that.
Dude, okay. He had such a cool look with that all white outfit and the black cape and that one red jewel. It's visually striking, but we always hear a lot of times too, and let's just go ahead and talk about it, that we don't have any major African-American superhero players. He could have been.
Absolutely.
When he first appeared, I get it when he first appeared, it was like, okay, we're doing this as a storyline that Martian Manhunter is stuck in this form that he sometimes takes. But this is an actual character that he's taken his place because, as far as the world knows, the last Bloodwind, because he hadn't been an actual hero, was missing, gone, dead, whatever. So Martian Manhunter gets stuck into this form, but and doesn't remember who he is, but
there is one out there.
Yeah, and the abilities he has, super strength, the eye beams. He's got most of Superman's powers, but he's magical based, and that little jewel gives him other magical powers too. And I'm like, dude, that's a great character. If you need a magical heavy hitter on any team, why not use him? And I saw recently in Action Comics that they picked him back up and brought him in for a story with Superman, Etrigan, and him, where they have to go to a dimension that's kind of magically powered, and Etrigan and Bloodwind help Superman out there, and they're like, he's going to return to some backup stories and stuff. I'm like, that's great. I'd like to see that, but at the same time, he could have been a major member of the league. If you were missing Martian Manhunter, you could have Bloodwind for a while. He's that powerhouse level, and he's a major player in African American heroes. If you're not going to use Bloodwind, you would have to go with Icon, who was not originally Milestone. Yes, was originally always part of DC, but they weren't in the same continuity. And I like both Icon and Bloodwind, but I would have rather had Bloodwind just because I like the magical aspect of his powers and what it meant. So I think they missed the boat on him several times.
They try too hard with some, and then they got so many like him and Mr. Terrific that you could do so much with.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't. It's like you want to reach out, and check all your boxes. You get all your, to reach out to appeal to all the fans. But you just shit the bed with it. So what are you doing?
Yeah, and I will say that Mr. Terrific did not make my list because he's one I think has gotten more prominent. But I think what helped him become even more prominent is when he took that role on the Justice League Unlimited cartoon of being the coordinator for all the league, and he got a lot of screen time at that point. And I think
there were so many in that Justice League Unlimited cartoon that I almost threw on my list because, dude, they took some obscure heroes. That show right there, that the writer, he needs his roses. He took so many obscure people like Question, Vigilante, and made them very, very interesting.
Yeah. So who do you have next on your list?
Well, I'm going to stick into the realm of magic, and I'm going Captain Marvel, not Shazam. Captain Marvel. Fuck Shazam. I don't like that shit. I don't like the shit where he doles out his powers to all these ridiculous people. Just give me Captain Marvel.
Well, and he's back to being
I'm fine with Captain Marvel, Black Adam, Mary. Beyond that, you don't need nobody. You don't need Frankie. You don't need those other goofs.
I'm okay with him because he was around in the 40s when they had the book. They had Captain
I can deal with that better, but I want him to be Captain Marvel. Watch that episode of Clash of Justice League. That is still to this day one of the best episodes of the entire series.
Oh yeah,
and they utilized him and showed how badass he could be, kind of like what he was in Kingdom Come. In Kingdom Come, he was a fucking beast.
Well, go back to the 40s, and this is the reason I didn't include him because, yes, since then he has not been as popular, but he's had his moments where he has been. But like in the 40s, he outsold Superman.
Mm-hmm.
He was a better selling book. They were, if it hadn't been for DC claiming, hey, you stole all of his powers and abilities and what he's supposed to be, you stole that from us, and putting a lawsuit on Fawcett Comics, he might have been the main hero you use versus Superman nowadays. Superman was first, but however, he was more popular.
And I never understood their years back when they said, "Oh, he's Shazam now because we don't want people to confuse him." No one confused him for fucking 50-something years. They knew who he was, but we know that's not Carol Danvers.
I don't think it's confusion as much as it is the legality of it because they can say it's confusion, but let's be honest. They have gone to court multiple times between both Marvel and them about who owns the rights to the name Captain Marvel. It's been a dispute, and then there was a hiatus where it said, okay, it's fine for whoever to use it, which is the whole reason Marvel's name was spelled Marvel, not Marvel. But at this point, I think it's just the legalities of what they do with it versus anything else, and they're just trying to get along and not have to go argue over it.
He's one of the few the dynamic of the transformation I'm fine with. Even though he's, a teenager transforming into, this all-powerful being with the wisdom of Solomon. You offset the fact that his youth, with the wisdom of Solomon at least. So I'm fine with it. He's one that I would like to see return to prominence.
Yeah. So since you brought up Captain Marvel, I'm going to go with somebody else who came out in the 40s as well for DC, and that's Guardian. Who's basically a Captain America ripoff to an extent. However, instead of being frozen in time, he is a clone of the original person who was the Guardian. So I was like, that's actually kind of cool. And they gave him, let's be honest, there's not much to his suit. It's a gold helmet, a gold shield, a gold briefs, and everything else is blue.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's not like the most visually striking thing, but it was one of those like, he's a good street level hero you could have in Metropolis to help out Superman. Or like when he was around for the Superboy run after, the clone Superboy, he's helping him out and he's kind of mentoring him and stuff. I was like, there's a lot of stuff. He could be mentoring the new generation of heroes. He could like if you had a younger team, like a Young Justice or something, he could be the mentor for them. Like, because Red Tornado, that's the last time I remember, besides Tornado's Path, that I remember him actually being regularly around was when he was the mentor for Young Justice.
I was going to say they dusted him off a few times here and there. I want to say I remember he was either in Countdown or that 52. I forget which.
Yeah, he was in one of those.
For a handful of issues, and then it was like, okay, man, you just made him pretty interesting again, and they dusted him off here or there, but just not enough. He's actually a very interesting character. I dig him too, and well, he was during the death of Superman. He kind of stepped up for a while there.
Well, and he's got connections to some of the other heroes. So like he's a clone of the original Guardian, Jim Harper, but his nephew. Or his grandnephew, I guess, is Roy Harper, which is Arsenal / Speedy. So he's tied into some others there. So I mean, there's more you can do with him.
They might have done their first meth and heroin together.
Oh, that's just
right. I can't, people. That's horrible.
Oh man. So who you got next? We'll just keep moving before we get ourselves in trouble here.
Metamorpho.
Oh, that's a good one. I forgot about him. I should have thought about him.
The one time I remember him just being used in a great way, and even though they made him a little goofy, was during that Outsiders run. They done a lot with him during that right there, and they made him a little childish or childlike, I guess. But it did showcase his powers and abilities and just how deadly and cool and badass he could be.
So which one are you talking about where he was more childish? Is that the Outsiders where Nightwing was leading the team and stuff?
I was thinking when Batman first put them back together, or maybe Nightwing started it and then Batman took over at some point. I don't remember. I remember Judd Winnick, he did write that when the run that he did. So
that's actually a completely different character. That's actually his. That is later they changed his name to Shift. Okay. But he's a piece of Metamorpho that actually broke off from Metamorpho. One of the times he changed shapes and used his powers and stuff, but it developed its own consciousness and became a completely different character. And they find out way late into the run that it's like, you're really not Metamorpho. Here's the real one, which is why he was so much childlike. They're like, what's wrong with his brain? It's like, because they tried to explain in the book like he was using his power so much that he was losing some of his consciousness.
Yeah,
no, it's because he was a new person. It's because he had become a new person, and he was more or less not a clone, but I guess a
fragment.
Yeah, a fragment. That's probably the best term to put it.
But that's the one time I just remember him being used in a kick-ass role, really.
Well, the original Batman and the Outsiders, when he was with that, he was pretty badass too.
Okay, so I know what you're talking about. I don't remember reading it, but I do know what you're talking about.
I read limited pieces of it, but he was kind of like the muscle of the team, more or less, because of all the different stuff he could do.
He is a character that you could do so much more with.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a lot of leg for growing.
Pun intended. Well, since you're talking about growing, I'm gonna go to my next character, who was this could have been considered an A-list character at times, but recent years, and they just have in the 70s and 80s, this would have been an A-list character. Maybe in the 60s as well, but since then, he's just fallen off into obscurity as the Atom.
Ooh.
They pop him out every now and then when they need a scientific mind, but he is so much more than that. I mean, yes, that's a major part of his aspect, is that he is scientific. He created the white dwarf belt that allows him to grow and stuff, but they don't ever use him. They're like, oh, we've got a problem here. We're not smart to figure it out. Come do it for us real quick, then go back away.
Well, when they went into their ethnic push, they just cast him aside and got Dr. Chin, and it's like, Chin's you're the Atom now.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Ray Palmer Atom, not the Ryan Choi, but like,
as he really done anything of prominence since his wife killed Elongated Man's wife?
They had one storyline after that, and I can't remember what it was in, where they were searching. Ryan Choi was with a Justice League team, and they were searching for him, and he was whatever he was involved with was very important to a major storyline. But it was like side note. But it's kind of like, Ray, come over here, solve this problem for us. All right, you're too neuter. You can't hang out too long. Go away. You can't sit at the cool kids table for too long. We just need you to do our homework.
You've done what we done. We know we need paprika for this recipe now. You go away.
Yeah. You wrote our homework for us. You can leave the table now.
He's a solid character. He really is. And like I said, I just don't remember anything past the Identity Crisis.
No, and that's just it. That they never do anything with him. But he was. You go back to 60s, 70s. He was just satellite years for Justice League. He was one of the most prominent team members and always there and always involved. And now it's just like, meh. Whatever.
You almost wish his current batch of writers would go back and read some of the history.
You wish, but that ain't gonna happen.
No, it's almost like they did Madam Web. You say you have this character with this name? What powers? I'll flesh out the rest. Don't worry about it. We got you, fam.
I've still got to watch that. I haven't watched it yet.
Ooh, it's brutal.
I know, but I'm still gonna make it through it. But while we're here, let's do our last character, and then we'll do honorable mentions quickly, because we have been going for a little bit. So who's your last character?
My last character is Jason Todd. They go in batches, and it's not because he hasn't been showcased, because he is very much showcased here and there.
Oh, absolutely.
But in the wrong lighting. Like when they brought him back, it meant something. It was like, holy shit, it's got weight to it. And that initial Red Hood run was so fucking great. Like, it's one of my favorite storylines. And then he just kind of petered off a little bit. and he come back and kind of count down, and it was him and what was it, Diana Troy and Kyle Rayner. They were trying to be the next generation. It's like, okay, if it'll step up, and then it's like all of a sudden they said, cast him aside. Dick's gonna be that next guy. It's Dick's place.
Yeah.
And he fell by the wayside, and they done the new 52 shit, and they just, oh man, that was a muddled mess for a while. They've come back, and now he's like this Red Hood and Outsiders, I believe it is, or Outlaws, or whatever it is.
Yeah, it was.
Nice. And that's a very up and down. I tried to get into that for a little while. I did dig it when it first started. You had the new version of Bizarro that Luther had made. I actually liked that character. He wound up being a very interesting character, not just as one-dimensional as the original Bizarro to me. Goofy. It wasn't too goofy. He was like, they were calling him Monster and shit like that. Like, that wound up being really good. So I kind of liked it when he was with Jason and them. But then he just kind of faded off again. And then, like, he pops up all over the place. But it's just like, let's just have him stand in the background. Because he's cosmetically great looking in the back.
Well, he pops up all the time, but it's never with a real purpose. It's just like, I'm going to be here to be the one dissenting character in the group.
Pretty much. It's almost like, at times they want to push him as Punisher. Then at times, like, oh, he's a Robin. Let's kind of just throw him in there for a little while and let him be the anti-hero there, just to be some fucking conflict.
Well, and that brings us to my last character, who is one that has not in that same vein of Jason, but has been rebooted. And every time they turn around, they want to create a new person to be in this role of this character, to have this name, this power set, which is actually a pretty cool one. And they can never figure out exactly how to do them best. And I think the 90s run that they did with the character was the best one they did, but it's the Ray.
Ooh, yeah.
When it was Ray Terrell in the 90s, that's the best run. Every time since it's like, okay, we had the Ray in the 40s. This is his son who was kept in the dark. Then when it was exposed to light, he got his father's power immediately. They didn't want him to have that, be exposed to it, blah, blah, blah. That was a good storyline. Then it was like, okay, he's gone. Here's the new Ray, and it's this character. Here's the new Ray, and it's this person. Here's the new Ray, and it's this person. And every time they make a new one now, they give him a different ethnicity, and they give him a different, not gender, but sexual orientation. I'm like, why? Like one will be a gay Asian, the next one will be a straight white man, the next one will be another Asian guy, but he's straight, and then there's another gay one, but he's a white man. I'm like, why do y'all keep changing the kid? Just pick a Ray.
They're throwing shit at the wall and trying to see what sticks. Like,
I don't
it sold 2 issues, fell off. Oh, that sold 3 issues, fell off. Throw something else.
I don't care which version. If you want the version of him this the Asian gay guy, the straight white guy, the gay white guy, I don't care which one. Just pick one, stick with it, and write a good story. Because the good story from the 90s was not anything to do with his relationship stuff. It was like, okay, it was the relationship with his father where he didn't want him to find out he had the powers and stuff. And then you find out that it really wasn't even his father. It was actually his father.
I really wish comics would understand that we don't care about their sexuality. If they want to suck cock or love women, that's their preference. They don't even have to be touched on. Very few times does the romantic side of things even appeal to the fan. Make the character interesting. Make his power set interesting. Make him be visually, conceptually cool. And the rest will fall into place.
You have that with the Ray. His powers are like, he can fly at super speeds. He turns into light. He can blast beams that are light based, but he can also create solid light constructs like a Green Lantern and stuff. Just it's yellow. Like, all right, that's cool. Make him that character. Give him a story like the one in the 90s had where, okay, my dad locked me away to keep my powers from me because they didn't want me being in danger and stuff. And then blah, blah, I get them. And then I got to learn how to be a hero, and I got to go find mentors to teach me how to do this. And that's a good story. I don't care anything else about, okay, that he's gay or he's straight or he's Asian, he's African American, he's white. I don't care at that point. It's just a good character and a good story. And I feel like the Ray is the one that they keep trying to change what those things are to hit the check a box, not because they're trying to actually make a character that works like it. It's just check a box, say we got one. Yeah. And then they write him poorly, and it's like, okay, we have him around, and then we kick him to the side. We have him around, and we kick him to the side.
It's kind of like the WWE Hall of Fame every year when they do that. One black, wrestler, one female wrestler. they got to make sure they got the Vince quota, as they call it. Unfortunately, it ain't like you're just fucking great and you're here. Oh, we got to have one.
Yeah, but I don't want that. I just want a good written story with the character. And he's got fantastic powers, and if you could find a good backstory for him and make it actually an interesting character, I'm all for it. I don't care what they are, because I like the Ray and I like his powers, and he's got a cool look too.
A very, very, very cool look. I mean, that was one of the ones that was like in the 90s. It was like, whoa, this is neat, you know.
Oh, and even when they did New 52 and they put him in an all white outfit that actually turns black when it's power. I mean, it's like Sunspot when he starts his powers, everything turned black except for the yellow lines on this leather jacket. Where I was like, that's actually really cool looking. It just stands out. It pops a little bit.
One of the few good New 52 ideas. There was a handful, but that was one of the few.
Yeah. Well, not the execution of the character, just the look.
Yeah. Concept was there.
But with that, I think we've made it through all of our 7. So honorable mention time. So let's just run through these quickly. Who do you have? Yeah. Let's do all of your list for honorable mentions, and I'll do mine.
So I got 4 villains, 2 heroes, and I'm just going to brush through a little bit. And on my villains right here, it's every one of them is just simply because they were built up to be such a badass upon their debut. Like they were just fucking destroying shit, wrecking shop. And then every time they come back, they just got sequentially worse and just less. And so I'm gonna say Doomsday, Cyborg Superman, Bang, Magog. And I know Cyborg Superman had a good run, you know, with the Green Lantern stuff. But
it's not consistent.
No, it's very inconsistent. Then next thing you know, he's fucking Zor-El. He ain't even fucking Hank Henshaw. Then they bring him back as Hank Henshaw. And Superman tries to redeem him. So it's like, okay, we're going to do a little something with him again. Nah. And like with Doomsday, how badass was he the first 2 times he arrives? Then about a third time, it's like, Brainiac's controlling him or whatnot. That's neat. Then after that, it gets worse. Like that one crisis, and I forget which one it was. I think it's the one where Superboy Prime arrives.
That's Infinite Crisis, yes.
Yeah, and fucking Earth 2 Superman and regular Superman just fuck Doomsday up in 3 panels. 3 panels, people.
Yeah,
I was like, no, I was fucking furious. Oh my God, but Bane's another one's like they didn't know what to do with him after, you know, Azrael defeated him. It's like from that point on, it's like we don't know what to do with him. Is he really? Is he of use or value after he broke the Batman's back? And they've done some things with him here and there, but it's very inconsistent up and down.
Up to that same level.
No, he's done nothing of major importance since. His daughter's more important to him during the current run, I believe. And Magog, how cool was he? And then, you know, Justice Society, they tried to bring him in during that was John's run.
Yeah.
And that was kind of cool. Yeah, that was kind of cool too. And then, like, I don't even remember how that ended or what happened.
I don't either.
Or where he is since. But he is the one that, like, power level was like, wow, this guy's, and he looks great. You know, you start out with a great look and you can put the story around, wrap the story around him after that. And the last 2 I got Hero Wise or Mr. Terrific and Asbats. There's a lot of legs still for Azrael Batman. And he's far more appealing to me as that than. And Gotham is big enough, you can have more than one Batman. Let's face it, Batman cannot be everywhere. That is a crime-ridden city. No matter how many fucking Robins you got, they don't strike the fear into the villains like Batman does. So if you had a Batman on, you know, the west side of town and a Batman on the east side of town, I'm all for that.
Yeah, that's a good one there. I only had 3 honorable mentions, and they were all hero characters, which is what I usually get into more anyway. But a couple of these are because they're underutilized, and one of them is because there was a time period. I'll start with him. It's a time period where this was an A-list character, and the top of your
this should have been
this should have been your Sorcerer Supreme, but Dr. Fate.
Ooh,
it's like, man, he's still around, and they still pull him out, and he's still very used. I can't say he's not utilized, but he's not utilized well. It's like
kind of like Jason, what we were talking about with him.
Yeah, when they had Kent Nelson, Dr. Fate, or when it was the Linda Strauss and the Eric Strauss, when they combined into the one Dr. Fate, there was a female form one. Those were actually still really good. They were, that is your Doctor Strange. That's your Sorcerer Supreme. That's your main magical person you go to. And now it's just like, the helmet's there and somebody's wearing it, but it's the third removed cousin of the nephew of the grandfather of somebody that's related to Kent Nelson somewhere. at some point in time, and they're wearing a helmet, but nobody knows shit about them. It's like, really, this is not Dr. I want Dr. Fate in the blue and yellow and the being the Lord of Order and being the Sorcerer Supreme that you go to, and they just don't do it anymore.
I can get behind that.
And then the other two these were ones that I think have a lot of potential, and they have had some decent runs, but they don't get used enough. The Question being one of them, and then the other one being Animal Man. Like he had one fantastic run, and since then he just flounders and is there occasionally, but you got the entire Animal Kingdom.
Wasn't Grant Morrison writing him during that one good run he had?
Yeah, and that's kind of like the almost like the Swamp Thing type thing. It's like here he is in his own little world. He does his own little thing, but he's really powerful and cool, and he'll show up in the Justice League and help them here and there. But you can't stay at the cool kids table for too long. We can only
Question is one that's cool too.
We can only allow you to be seen with us on Mondays and Thursdays. Other days you have to
crowds
play
are
by
a little
yourself.
Lower on those days.
Yeah.
That sounds like fuck. We gotta let him be seen with us. Give him Mondays. There's not a lot of people out there at work.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of legs on that one. And Question is one that's another character. And yes, and when he started out it's a Carlton Comics character. He started out in his own city. He wasn't in Gotham, but you can put the Question in Gotham. I actually like Renee Montoya as the Question just as much as
that was very interesting. I like that during that phase.
Do something with them and put them as part of the Bat family instead of just being a whole separate person here that might occasionally bump into them. Like, yes, this is a big city and there's a lot of crime, but there's only so many of you vigilantes, but you can't tell me y'all don't go to the same places. Y'all hang out in the same little crooked back alleys looking for crime.
And when she was during her run of the Question, that was one of the few characters that they got right.
Yeah.
It fit. It made sense. You wasn't forcing the sexuality part onto us. It was natural. It was a progression.
Yeah.
It was great. And that's all we're asking for as fans.
Absolutely. But with that, we have covered that for a while. So why don't we move straight into Nerd Out? So anybody who hasn't been here before, this is part of the show. We ask random questions that's centered around the topics of the day. We have to respond to each other with little to no prep time, and we love to hear your answers as well. So please feel free to expand upon our answers or provide your own in the comment section below. But with that, Hassel, you want to go first this week, or you want me to go first?
I do, because actually I have one, and I feel like you're going to steal it. So I'm going to go ahead and let me go ahead and put this out here. All right. So we went over your 7 and my 7. What wound up being plus, but still, we went over our list of underutilized, misused characters.
Yeah.
So select one from either your list or my list. It doesn't matter. One hero and one villain that you would write a title with. And I'm not talking about two separate books, not like a villain book. Like whoever your hero is and the villain's going to be for that title.
Oh, I would go Firestorm and have the Captain Atom version of Monarch be the villain.
Ooh, that's good.
Very similar power sets. Firestorm would be kind of leading up to trying to figure out who's this big villain he's fighting and I don't know how to flesh it out fully, but there's stuff going on. Firestorm's fighting different villains. It's leading up to a confrontation with that. And in the past, you could still lean on that Captain Atom was his mentor in the same vein of his power set and stuff, but now he has to face off. The student has to beat the teacher with the evil version of Monarch, who is a Captain Atom from the future.
Any guest stars from underutilized talent?
Obviously, the regular Captain Atom has to pop up at least once or twice just to give him some advice. But I think that you could bring in some other characters, like you could have the Ray team up with Firestorm for a little bit, or what would be really interesting would be to say, okay, you got two teenage heroes or even young heroes. You could put them in their 20s and say the Ray and Firestorm struggling to make ends meet, and they have to, they're roommates in an apartment and stuff. Then you could have them help each other out here and there. I mean, you could have the buddy comedy panels on the side, and then you could have the serious story as well.
I'd read that.
So who would you use?
So you stole my villain. So you already done that. So I'm rebooting. I'm rebooting on the fly here. Oh, I'm going Captain Marvel as my hero. Magog is my villain.
That's a good one.
And as a kind of a mentor / outside the box thinking that needs to nudge Captain Marvel in the right way, I'm going to utilize the question here.
That's interesting.
I feel like that's a very unexplored and could, because Captain Marvel, he's very, the childlike side of him is innocent. So he does want to believe in fair play, as he says in Clash. I like that version, where he's like, I want to believe the best in people, this, that, and other. So maybe he's thinking he can redeem Magog the whole time, but he's having to have questions saying, but are you asking the right questions? And trying to make him, open him up to the layers of the onion, so to speak. Might even have a cameo with an issue where Cyborg Superman might be manipulating them all behind the scenes.
That would be interesting, but that's a very interesting matchup because Captain Marvel being powered by the gods and stuff, and then Gog and Magog is very similar vein of powers, yep. Right? So that would actually be a very interesting.
Two old world powered Superman people.
Yeah. So very similar question to what I have for you, but mine was has a slight tweak to it. So I'm going to say, you can resurrect or create any new team book with some of your obscure characters. What would you do? It doesn't have to be just your characters you use, but obscure character team. It's not Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman ain't going to be on this team.
No, I'm going to bring back the Outsiders, and Jason Todd's going to lead my group. And he's going to use Booster Gold as Supernova. He's going to use Metamorpho, Red Tornado. And I'm going to add in Arsenal and Deanna Troy.
That's interesting.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah. What's the other chick with the Lady Shiva? That's who I'm thinking of. I'll put her in there as well. But Jason has the task of trying to lead this group.
That's very interesting. I'd read that. Mine would be, I'd bring back Justice League Task Force. I don't want them to be a Black Ops, but I want them to be a Strike Force team for the league that goes and deals with global threats that, it has to be hit hard and fast and almost like a military style type attack versus, okay, we just wait around for something to happen and protect everybody. But I would have both Captain Atom and Guardian as team leaders, and I would rotate the cast that they would recruit for different characters for different missions. But the only other permanent mainstays on the team would be Blue Beetle and Booster Gold. And Booster Gold would be, hey, I know these things from the future, or these that are fixed points or that are going to be catastrophes. I'm going to give you the heads up on them without giving you too much detail because you get in trouble if you change too much in the past. But I'm going to give you enough detail to go act on it. And Blue Beetle would be the tech guy. So those two, Guardian and Captain Atom, and you can split where Captain Atom's leading one team doing this mission, Guardian's doing another one. But I think with them, with their military strategic type stuff, would be make it an interesting strike force. And then you recruit different people for whatever missions you're on.
I like that. I mean, it makes me think, adding on to mine, with Booster Gold as Supernova, nobody on the team knows he's Booster Gold except Jason. Like even John Paul Valley hasn't figured it out.
That would make that interesting as well. And I think if you use Booster Gold in a way where he's like, okay, he knows the pain points because he's a time master, and he's like, you can fix this so that later catastrophe doesn't happen, but don't step on that butterfly because you might change into something else.
Well, DC, you need to step up. You need to hire us. I mean, we can create your company for you.
We could work on it. I'm not going to say we could create it. It's already there.
Yeah, so. that ship's going. It's not Titanic yet, but it's going.
Speaking of the ship going, that brings us to a close. But before we leave, Hassel, got to tell everybody where they can find us at.
And you can find us on the Instagram at the Nerdy Manroom Show. You can find us on Facebook, Hassel Hutchinson, be at Nerdy Manroom Show. We're on Twitter, Nerdy MR Show. We're on TikTok. Just look up the.nerdy.manroom. And most importantly, look us up as part of the Geek Network Podcast Syndicate on YouTube. We're on the Geek Network channel. We're on the YouTube channel, our YouTube channel. We're everywhere.
And also, don't forget, you can check us out on Roku, Fire, whatever streaming platform you use under the Spotlight Media Network. And while you're checking us out, don't forget to go check out our friend and extended Nerdy Manroom family member, Big Rob. He can be found on his channel, Big Rob's House of Entertainment and No Chinese Food.
Chinese food.
Where he does great toy unboxings, toy hunts, and movie reviews. And check out his channel for a lot of fun. You can also check him out on Twitter, I think under Big Rob. Is it under Big Rob's House of Entertainment, No Chinese Food on Twitter as well? Yeah, he does his stories from life on the road on there. So check that out as well. And with that, we want to give thanks to our sponsors, These Old Collectibles. You can find them on the internet at theseoldcollectibles@gmail.com and on Facebook at These Old Collectibles, or in their store at 305 Main Street, Tifton, Georgia. Visit them for all your nerdy needs, from comics to Legos, trading cards, toys, games, and more. Help them support the local artist community by supporting their cause of bringing unity through community. Fandoms unite. And check out our very end credits here, and you will be able to see some of our other friends and extended Geek Network family members in the details of the closing credits. But with that brings us to a close. So join us here next time. We're going to take a look at comic conventions. Until then, live nerdy, but not in obscurity.